Welcome to the Healthcare Authority's presentation on self-employment income. In this presentation, we will cover the following topics: MAGI Introduction, self-employment income, income enhancements to Health Plan Finder, deductions, and resources. Now let's review what is MAGI. Modified Adjusted Gross Income, or MAGI, is how income is calculated for MAGI-based Washington Apple Health, or Medicaid, and Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, Apple Health with Kids with Premiums programs. Generally, the MAGI calculation is an individual's adjusted gross income, or AGI, as determined by the Internal Revenue Code, with a few modifications. Now let's review self-employment income. What is self-employment income? Self-employment income is income that is earned by a person from running a business, performing a service, selling items that are made, or reselling items with the intent to make a profit. This income can be earned if the person is carrying on a trade, in business as a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, a member of a partnership that carries on a business, or in business for themselves other than what's listed above. Self-employment income is determined using an individual's most recent federal tax return or their most recent 3-month profit and loss statement. Self-employment income is determined using an individual's most recent federal tax return unless the individual does not file taxes, has not been in business long enough to have filed a tax return for their new business, or their most recent tax return is not a good reflection of their current income. If any of these conditions apply, the individual can report the income from their most recent 3-month profit and loss statement. Under MAGI, net self-employment income, which is gross income minus allowable business expenses, is used to determine the eligibility for MAGI-based Apple Health programs. Let's look at the types of self-employment incomes that you may come across. This includes, but is not limited to, babysitting part-time, driving for Uber or Lyft, renting out a room of your home, reselling items on eBay, owning and operating your own daycare, being a partner in a medical practice, or shareholders in your own corporation. In the following slides, we will review in detail the different types of business structures that are reported as self-employment income. Sole proprietorship. This type of business is simple to form and operate. The individual is the sole owner of the business. The business owner is personally liable for all debts incurred by the business. This is the most common business structure, and sole proprietorships offer a large array of business types. Sole proprietors file a Schedule C and report net income on line 12 of the 1040. Please note that a sole proprietor business owners would have as many Schedule Cs as businesses they own. Some limited liability companies, LLCs, and individuals who receive royalties from copyrights or patents will choose to file taxes like a sole proprietor. Common examples include Uber and Lyft drivers, bookkeepers, real estate agents, shopkeepers, private contractors, translators, truck drivers, insurance agents, taxi drivers, Mary Kay distributors, child care providers, and non-charitable GoFundMe accounts, etc. Keep in mind that some sole proprietors may not file a tax return as they provide part-time or infrequent services. These may include babysitters, handymen, landscapers, house cleaners, etc. Depending on whether the individual files their taxes or not, types of verification they may provide include a complete copy of their tax return or a profit and loss statement. Because some of these individuals do not make enough to file taxes for this income, they may just provide statements to show their monthly income. For example, an individual that drives for Uber may just provide monthly income statements, or an individual who works as a babysitter part-time may provide a statement of their monthly earnings from the family they provide care for. Business income or loss for sole proprietors is reported on line 12 of the Schedule 1 IRS 1040 form. Partnership. Partnership income is income received from a business when a relationship exists between two or more persons who join to carry on a trade or business. Each person contributes money, property, labor, or skill, and expects to share in the profits and losses of the business. Types of partnerships can include general, limited, limited liability, LLP, and limited liability limited, LLLP. The partnership itself is required to file the tax return and pass any losses and gains onto its partners. The partnership business will file its own tax return on IRS Form 1065, U.S. Return of Partnership Income, and Schedule K1, Form 1065. These are each distributed to each business partner. Income for each individual partner is reported on their personal tax return on line 17 of the IRS 1040, and gains and losses from partnerships are also reported on page 2 of the IRS Schedule E, Form 1040, of an individual's personal tax return. Some common examples of partnerships include real estate businesses, dance studios, medical and legal practices, marketing firms, small retail stores, etc. Typically, when providing proof or verification, unless the partnership has been established within the last years, individuals provide copies of their tax return to show proof of income. If the partnership has been established within the last year, or the last year's tax return is not a good reflection of their income, individuals can provide proof of their income with a 3-month profit and loss statements and proof of their percentage of ownership in the partnership. Partnership income or loss is reported on line 17 of the IRS Schedule 1 1040 form. Corporation. Corporations have more complex business structure. Shareholders or owners of the corporation are employees of the corporation and receive wages and additional income from the corporation. Any debts incurred by the business are liable to the corporation and not the shareholders. Types of corporations can be C corporations, S corporations, nonprofit, and some limited liability companies can be treated like a corporation for tax filing purposes. Shareholders of the corporation are essentially employees of the corporation and can be paid wages and dividends from the corporation. A corporation is required to file a federal tax return depending on what kind of corporation it is. IRS Form 1120S, U.S. Income Tax Return for an S Corp, or Form 1120, U.S. Corporation Income Tax Return. Shareholders of an S corporation will each receive a Schedule K1 Form 1120S indicating their yearly dividend amounts received and their percentage amount of the partnership. Any dividends received from the corporation will be reported on line 17 of Schedule 1, IRS Form 1040. Gains and losses received from the corporation in the form of dividends are also reported on page 2 of the IRS Schedule E, 1040, of an individual's personal return. Like any wages earned, any individual employed by a corporation will receive a wage stub or an IRS Form W-2. Wages are reported on line 7 of the IRS Form 1040. Some common examples, especially for Apple Health recipients, are S corporations and include gas stations, general stores, real estate businesses, insurance agencies, chiropractors, dentists, etc. Typically, when providing proof of income for corporation, individuals provide their most recent tax return as proof of income and proof of current wages that the corporation is paying them. If the most recent tax return is not a good reflection of current income, or the corporation has been established within the last year, individuals can provide a 3-month profit and loss statement and proof of their current wages. Corporation income is reported on line 17 of the IRS Schedule 1-1040 form. As a reminder, an individual could also receive wages from their corporation, and they are reported on line 7 of the IRS 1040 form. Rental. Rental income is income in the form of payments or services received from the use or occupation of real estate or personal property. Rental income is considered earned once you have received it and not when it was earned. Security deposits are not considered income unless they are not returned to the tenant, and any expenses paid by the tenant are also considered income. Not all individuals who have rental income are required to file a tax return. Some examples of rental income can include renting out a room of your house, leasing part of your property as storage, having numerous rental homes, etc. Typically, individuals who provide proof of their rental income provide their most recent tax return. If they don't file taxes or it's not a good reflection of their current income, individuals also provide profit and loss statements or copies of their lease agreements as proof of the income. Rental income is filed on a Schedule E of the tax return and reported on line 17 of Schedule 1-1040 form. Some forms of royalty income are also reported similar to rental income on the same form. Farming. Farming income is income received by an individual from cultivating, operating, or managing a farm for gain or profit. This can include income from operating a stock, dairy, poultry, fish, fruit, or truck farm, and or operating a plantation, ranch, range orchard, or grove. It can also include income from the sale of crop shares if the individual materially participates in producing the crop. Individuals who have farming income are not required to file a tax return. Typically, individuals who have farming income provide a tax return or a profit and loss statement as proof of this income. Farming income is filed on Schedule F and reported on line 18 of the Schedule 1-1040 form. Income reported on line 18 will not include income received from tribal activities, as this is not taxable income. Income enhancements. The following are income enhancements from the Washington Health Plan Finder release. Prior to this release, users could not enter negative income amounts through the income reporting screens. Individuals are now able to enter income as a loss. Negative amounts display in red for the following income types: rental, self-employment, capital gains, farming, and other taxable income. Negative income calculated on the calculators carry over to the income details page. Negative income passes to the eligibility service as a negative amount. When an error occurs on the income or deduction page, the field opens up for the individual to make a correction. Here's a video demonstration from one of the last system releases on negative income.
With this system release, users can input a negative income amount for rental income, self-employment income, and other, which would include capital gains, farming, and other taxable income. In the income amount field, you'll see a dollar sign with a positive or a negative to reflect that negative income. Income calculators for rental and self-employment will also calculate a negative amount if the customer has a negative amount and copy that into this income details screen. This will list with the negative before the amount, and then it would pass that negative income to eligibility service when they submit their application for processing. Let's take a quick look at what that income calculator would be. So let's say our customer has about $500 a month in their self-employment income. And we didn't put their appropriate deductions they can have. We'll just say they have about $600 a month in depreciation. You'll see as we go through, if a negative amount exists because of putting in those details, it'll be reflected in a red negative amount. You can then click Use Amount, and it'll copy that negative amount right into their income details screen, and you can input the rest of their information. We'll just say ARC Business. And then you can close that, and you'll then see the negative amount reflected. And this will exist on the rental income. So same thing. We'll just say $500 a month, and they have $600 in other expenses. Again, reflects a negative amount. You can select Use Amount, and it'll display there in a negative amount. And just to show what the amount field looks like, so if you selected other income and other taxable income, it has the option to put in a negative amount. Capital gains also has the option to put in the negative amount. And then farming income has the option to put in a negative amount. And that's what the negative deductions would look like, or the negative amount would look like displayed on the income screens.
Deductions. What are deductions? Deductions are adjustments the IRS allows when calculating an individual's adjusted gross income. These deductions are also allowed following the same IRS rules and limits when determining eligibility for MAGI-based Apple Health programs. Some deductions have yearly limits, and some deductions are variable. Deductions are annualized through the individual's certification period. Apple Health is renewed throughout the year, and it's the individual's responsibility, if there's a change through that taxable year of a deduction, to report it throughout the year. As a reminder, the Eligibility Service is updated to cap certain deductions to match IRS standards. We no longer allow a school tuition and fees deduction. The following deductions are now limited in the Health Plan Finder. Educator expenses to $250 a year for one person or $500 for a household. Interest on student loans to $2,500 a year or $208.33 a month. And health savings account and pre-tax retirement contributions are capped at an amount based on age. Deductions are listed on lines 23 through 33 of Schedule 1 IRS Form 1040. On the next few slides, we will give a brief overview of each of the allowable deductions, starting with the most common we see with Apple Health eligibility. Student loan interest. This deduction is for interest paid on student loans. Loans must have been used for qualifying educational expenses while attending an educational institution. Principal payments are not deductible. The loan payments must be for the individual, their spouse, or their tax dependents, or their children in the household. Currently, the maximum amount for student loan interest is $2,500 per year. Armed Forces moving expenses. This deduction is for moving expenses for individuals in the armed forces who are moving due to a military order. This does not include meals, but can include actual packing and transporting of household goods and travel expenses for each household member. Currently, the deduction amount for moving expenses is variable. Spousal support or alimony. Deduction for court-ordered spousal support or alimony with a court date order prior to 1/1 of 2019. This does not include voluntary alimony payments or child support payments. Currently, the deduction amount for alimony is variable, and this deduction is reported on line 31A of the Schedule 1 1040 form. Health savings account. This deduction is for contributions made to a pre-tax or tax-deductible health savings account designated for medical-related expenses. Currently, the maximum amount for health savings accounts depends on a number of factors, including age. Shown are the January 2020 amounts. These amounts are reported on line 25 of Schedule 1 and also on an IRS Form 8889. Pre-tax retirement account. This deduction is for contributions made to a pre-tax retirement account and excludes both Roth IRAs, because contributions are after tax and not deductible, and simple IRAs, contributions made to a pre-tax and thus not deductible contributions. Currently, the maximum amount of pre-tax retirement account depends on age. The amount increases for those who are 50 years or older. This is reported on line 32 of a Schedule 1 and may include IRS Forms 5498, W-2s, or wage stubs. Self-employment tax. This deduction is for tax paid to the federal government to fund Medicare and Social Security for self-employed individuals who net more than $400 per year, or employees of churches or church organizations with income of more than $108.28 per year. Currently, the deduction amount for self-employment tax is variable and claimed on line 27 of Schedule 1. Self-employment retirement plan. This deduction is for contributions made to a self-employment retirement plan, including SEP, simple, or qualified plans. Currently, the deduction amount for a self-employment retirement plan is variable and claimed on line 28 of Schedule 1. Self-employment health insurance. This deduction is for contributions made to self-employment health insurance plans. Currently, the deduction amount for self-employment health insurance is variable and claimed on line 29 of Schedule 1. Educator expenses. This deduction is for expenses for unreimbursed educator expenses, in example, books, supplies, and other equipment. The individual must be a licensed educator. Currently, the maximum amount for educator expenses is $250 per year for each educator, up to $500 for the household. This deduction is claimed on line 23 of Schedule 1. Penalty on early withdrawal of savings. This deduction is for penalty on early withdrawal from funds in a certificate of deposit or other deferred interest accounts before maturity. Currently, the deduction amount for penalty on early withdrawal of savings is variable and claimed on line 30 of Schedule 1. Certain claimable business expenses of U.S. reservists, performing artists, and fee-based government officials. This deduction is for U.S. reservists, performing artists, or fee-based government employees who have expenses necessary for their job, including travel of more than 100 miles. Currently, the deduction amount for certain claimable business expenses is variable and claimed on line 24 of Schedule 1. Resources. For more resources and training materials regarding Apple Health or Medicaid, please visit the Healthcare Authority Training and Education webpage at the link shown on this slide. For community partners, Healthcare Authority has made available a team of eligibility policy representatives to provide assistance for questions regarding Medicaid eligibility and assistance with Washington Apple Health applications. These representatives can assist with MAGI income or self-employment related questions. Thank you.